welcome to GTEC's 2023 Global DevSlam, last day. So excited to be here today. Thank you so much all for being here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Anya Kubo. I'm a software developer specializing in JavaScript, as well as content creator for my own YouTube channel, as well as Free Code Camp, which is a non-profit offering help to coding for people from all over the world who don't have access to education. Now, another fun fact, I actually grew up here in Dubai since the age of pretty much 1 year old, so I've seen it change a lot. I have also been to GTEC since the age of like 16. So again, to see it grow to what it is today is absolutely insane. It's so big. I got lost like about 5 times just trying to find like anything in here. So well done for making it here on time. Now, another fun fact that I want to share with you today, I am going to be your MC for today. So thanks very much for listening to me. We have so many fun people here to introduce. Being an MC following the most impressive 11-year-olds I think I've ever seen is going to be a hard feat. For those of you who weren't around for the talk before, there was some seriously impressive coding and projects talked about by, I think it was 2 11-year-old developers. So yeah, pretty hard act to follow. But thanks very much for listening to me. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce the very first person and first talk for today. She is a senior developer advocate for AWS, as well as content creator like me on Instagram and personal friend, Viktoria. So give it up for Viktoria, everyone.
I just want to say what a coincidence. Yesterday, I got announced by my colleague from Amazon with whom I did onboarding together. And we've been supporting each other through Women in Tech events. And today, I got introduced by Anya, with whom we are connected through Instagram. And we've been supporting each other as content creators. So I just want to say this world is very, very small, especially in for developer conferences, right? So make sure that you are kind to each other because you never know where your paths might cross. So as Anya already said, I'm a developer advocate at AWS. I'm also a content creator, and I frequently share demos, resources on Instagram and LinkedIn. So today, what I want to talk about is about developing generative AI applications. I prepared some demos for you. So I want to start first with a story. You all probably remember, oh, my microphone is fallen. Don't fall, okay. No, it's fallen again. 1 second, okay. I think I'm good. Do you remember being a student and when you needed to go and find information, you go to a library and you get this bunch of books and you try to go and scan? And even now, let's say if you're maybe studying and you're preparing for certification, and you're like, well, I need to find this little piece of information, and then you download a bunch of white papers, different documents, and you try to find the right answer, right? This happens. Like, wouldn't it be nice if we could take all of these books, all of these documents, and convert them to machine-readable format, and then just, supplement with chatbots and get our answers very quickly and efficiently. So this is exactly what I'm going to talk today, is how we can use the power of LLM and take additional external, let's say, knowledge base documents and now supplement this information to get quick and at the same time accurate responses. So let's first start with just a little bit of foundations. What's the big difference between AI and Gen AI? So for AI, for traditional machine learning models, we used to have to prepare data and train, label it, and it was really taking months before we could get a model for one particular task, let's say summarization. But with generative AI, now these foundation models that are trained on terabytes of data and have billions of parameters help us to achieve multiple tasks, right? Multiple tasks. And then we can adapt using small label set for specific domains. Why it's important? Analyst estimates that 2/3 of all US and European jobs will be affected by generative AI. So it's really important for you as an employee or for a business owner as an organization to start leveraging these tools. If we look at the broader landscape, we can look at foundation models as two types. One is proprietary models that you don't have access and you have to access them via APIs. And the second is open source. And with open source, you can download models, you can also fine-tune them, and you can deploy them on your own account. I know we're all familiar with chatbots, but those foundation models, they really support different modality, right? So it can be also image, audio. So when we think about use cases, we really have to think about what type of modality are we solving for. Is it text? Is it image? Is it video? And then what kind of model we're going to use, because even for a model, let's say with Llama 2, you can have 7 billion or 70 billion and the parameters. And depending on this will determine whether, oh, my microphone today doesn't want to cooperate with me. Depending on this, it's going to change your accuracy, your performance, and most importantly, your cost, because the model will require a different type of hardware to run. So common use cases, text processing, we're all familiar. With visual comprehension, we find foundation models being used in autonomous driving and robotics. And another interesting use case, code generation. And I'll show you a demo with Amazon Code Whisperer where I'm using Code Whisperer to help me to code much faster. Now, let's talk about the stack, what it really takes for us to develop generative AI applications. So we can divide stack into 3 layers. At the top, we have applications. So those are user-facing applications, let's say ChatGPT or Jasper. They are relying on foundation models, right? They're powered by foundation models. And those models can be accessed either through APIs or in case if it's an open source model, they can be accessed to model hubs such as Hugging Face or Amazon SageMaker Jumpstart. And then at the bottom, we have infrastructure that powers those models. There you can train, access different tools. For example, at AWS, we have AI accelerators such as AWS Trainium and Inferentium. Now, the way that we interact, you're familiar. We provide the prompt, and then the model LLM responds with a message. This message being added to context window. So, for example, in this case, I'm asking, can you tell me about what's Model Hub? It gives me different model hubs, and then I'm asking, well, tell me more about the first one on the list. And the model knows that the first one on the list is Hugging Face, right? So it has this awareness because the previous conversation was added to context window. But it's important to remember that all of these tools, they are not like magic, and they have limitations. So one of the limitations is potential for hallucinations. And what means hallucinations is when model creates a plausible sounding answer, but it's entirely fiction one. So in this case, I'm asking, can you give me a concise description of Llama, which is a recent open source model by Meta, and because it was recently announced, the knowledge of the model that was trained, it doesn't know, right? So it kind of tries to construct an answer based on the information that it has available. So it says, okay, it's a low latency messaging for automotive, and there is no such thing. So second, of course, the limitation is the fact that it just doesn't have the knowledge, and it can say, well, I actually don't know, right? I'm only based on September 2021. Something changed with my deck. I no longer can see my slides. have some technical issues today with microphone, with deck. Okay, yeah. Now I'm back seeing my slides. Okay, next. So what I want to talk next is how we can overcome those limitations. And we can overcome those limitations. Limitation with my microphone is hard to overcome today. So we can overcome these limitations by providing additional information. And we can do this by now creating a new layer, orchestration layer. And orchestrators such as LangChain and Llama Index can help us to access external resources and external tools to help to supplement new information. So there are 3 ways really to overcome. We can do it with prompt engineering when we provide contextual information. We can also do it with fine-tuning when we provide labeled data set and update the models. And the third one is using retrieval information. And that's what I want to focus today on, retrieval information, because that method does not need to modify LLM weight. So you don't touch the LLM, you simply augment information. So how we can do this? We provide additional data sources, and then we use tools such as agents or RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. Okay, so first use case that I want to talk about is, let's say we have structured data, and we have some CSV files, and we want to analyze how we spend on our account. And we want to identify perhaps what's the highest cost and optimize our spend. So what I can do, I'm going to use LangChain, and LangChain will orchestrate different tasks and will use different tools to connect to my CSV files. So in this case, I'm going to use a CSV agent, which will be based on Python data frame. And then the Python data frame will execute Python commands, and I'll show you a demo. You'll see it all in live. And then it will find all of the right information, provide back to LangChain observation. LangChain will take my query, will take observations gathered, and pass it to LLM. And then LLM, based on this, can say, well, is this what was expected? And if yes, then it will provide the general answer in a human-readable format, and I'll get my answer. What I also found while I was building this demo, that a couple times actually the Python commands failed, and LLMs and told LangChain, go and execute again, like, and do this and this command. So it's kind of like interesting how you using agents and LLMs, they can start talking and improving your answer. So now let me show you this in a demo. So for a demo, I'm using Amazon SageMaker Studio, which is based on a Python notebook. You can also explore different foundation models from SageMaker Jumpstart. You can select a model and deploy it just like in a few clicks, and you'll get inference endpoints that you can use. So now I'm in a SageMaker Studio. I dropped my files here, so you can see in my first column, I have dates, and then across the table, I have different services that I used on one of my development account with a cost. And then my second file is very similar. The only difference that it's broken by API cost. So let's say I'm interested to find where I spent the most money. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I will enable Code Whisperer, which will help me to write code with code suggestions. And I can manually invoke it or pause and reject the suggestions. So I first import LangChain libraries, and I will import the model, CSV agent model, from one of the library. Then I provide API key, so I can connect to my LLM. And then once it's done, that's it, I'm creating an agent. And for agent, I'm providing the model name, and I'm providing names of the files that I want the agent to use. In one of my files, I had a total spend, and I said, let me delete this column so that I only have all the services across. So what I did, I just started typing comments, and based on the comments, you see Code Whisperer generates for me commands. So, you know, I honestly feel like once I started utilizing Code Whisperer, I became a better developer because my code is now well documented, and I really code with a plain English rather than remembering syntaxes. So that you can see I simply typed comments, and now my column was deleted, and now I can work with this file. So now all I have to do, I'm just going to initiate agent, and I'll say, okay, well, find me the item with the highest cost in provided files, and tell me the cost. And you can see now agent is entering the chain, and it executes commands. So it first like goes and finds the maximum value in one file. Then it identifies, well, this was for SageMaker. Then it goes find the maximum value in the second file. And then it identifies, oh, this was for a DB instance. And then it goes back, and now LLM provided us this human-readable message. The item with the highest cost is SageMaker, right? So all of this put together by LLM to provide us a nice, friendly message. So that's kind of cool, right? But this is like one example where you can use agents. Let's say if perhaps I had another database, maybe structured database, RDS, where I also had some information about cost. I could have created a different agent to execute SQL, and then based on my input, the agent can decide which tool to use. So in this case, the agent will know, well, if she's asking something about SQL, I'm going to go get data from a database. If it's something about more like structured, I'll go from CSV files. So it really opens up an opportunity for you to start creating those kind of different tools and leverage them for different tasks. So, yes? Oh, it's not running the same way. It's not synchronized. I see my demo here, and they don't see it. What's going on today? Oh my God, I wish you told me this earlier. I'm so sorry. We have to redo the demo because this was the most interesting part. Who cares about slides, right? Can you please fix this? They're on it? Okay. Yeah, I'll skip some slides. I want to make sure that you'll see demos. I think demos bring things to life. So I'll go through some slides quickly. Tell me when it's ready. You should have told me this earlier. Okay, I think we are back. So you didn't see the architecture, right? So I was talking and you didn't see the architecture before. But at the high level, this is exactly what I was explaining, that the query is passed to the tools. Tools will utilize, based on this long chain, based on the query will determine which tool to use. And in this case, I was using the CSV. And then we'll provide the observation, and then the observations will be passed to large language models, and large language model will take everything and pass back. Okay, now let me redo the demo. So now, are we good? Yes, we are good. Okay, so now we are in Amazon SageMaker. Foundation models are available in Jumpstart. There are over 150 open source models and proprietary models, so you can deploy them in one click. Now I'm opening SageMaker Studio, which is a Python-based notebook, so I could go through all the steps. So I have here CSV files. You can see the first column date, and then across all the services with my spend, and I'm interested where I'm spending the most money. I have another file, but imagine you could have like hundreds of files, right? So this is just a simple demo to show how it's going to work. So now the first thing that I'll do, I will import a LangChain. I will enable Code Whisper for code suggestions. And then I will import the model, create CSV module. Then I will provide my API key so I could connect to LLM. And once this is done, I can actually now create an agent. I will use OpenAI function. And there are actually different ways to create CSV agents. But this was the most recent one. There are so many things that are evolving in this space, but this was the most recent one and probably the best one to use as of now. So then I noticed I had this total cost column, and I decided to remove it so that I only have services. And here I'm typing the command, just comments, and Code Whisperer generates all the code for me, so I don't have to write code myself. And now I can execute, and I can check whether this column has been deleted. And once the file is cleaned, I can now run the agent and ask where I spent the most. So you can see I no longer have the cost. And now I'm asking, well, provide me the item with the highest cost. And here where the magic happens, right? That's where the chain starts. You can see first, the LangChain identified, found the Python command to find the maximum value. Then it found what kind of service was behind it. Then it opened a different file. And then similarly, it identified, OK, this was the maximum value in this file, and this was a service. And then LLM provided this last message in human-readable format and put it all together. OK, well, now I have to go really fast because we missed a little bit of time. So what I want to show in the next example, so remember at the beginning I asked about Amazon Bedrock, and the model didn't know about Amazon Bedrock. But what we can do, we can actually provide those files, and we convert those files to vector store, save it in a vector database, and now we can augment data from LLM through vector. So this goes back to my first example. Let's say if you have hundreds of books and you want to create your knowledge base and you want to get the answers very quickly, this is how you can do it, utilizing retrieval augmented generation. So the way it works, first you get all your documents, you split them into chunks, and you use embedding model, for example, as Amazon Titan. You have to split into chunks because each model can only take so many tokens. So for example, like 8,000 tokens, and you break down the documents by 1,000 tokens. The longer the documents, the larger the chunk. And then what happens, this embedding model is going to map words to vectors. And this is a very simplified picture in three-dimensional space. But in reality, I'm going to use 1,536 dimensions. So each word will become a numerical vector. And then when I will ask to provide me an answer, it's going to find which vectors are closely allocated to each other and provide back. And you can ask, like, provide me 3 nearest closest paragraphs or 5. So it's really up to you. So this is how vector embedding looks like. And then you can store them in the vector databases. I will be using Pinecone. There are other databases that are available. So I'll have a query. Then the LangChain will execute, find the relevant paragraphs, and then will provide those relevant paragraphs to LLM. LLM now knows, OK, well, I have this information, and it will reply with information. So now let's see if we will pass this test of knowing what's Amazon Bedrock. So here I am back in SageMaker Studio. First, I set up my API keys so I could access LLM. Then I import LangChain. I pick a model. So in this case, I use GPT 3.5 because it has more tokens. I first tried GPT-4 and actually failed because you have to provide quite a lot of context to the LLM. Then I set up the way that LangChain works. Query is a bit different than the way that you prompt ChatGPT, so you have to specify this dialogue. And you can see I asked, what's Bedrock? And LLM doesn't know, right? It doesn't know what's Bedrock because it was trained on 2021 data. So now I download Bedrock documents, and now I can convert them to a vector database. So the first thing that I'll do is to split this document into chunks. So I'll split it to 1,000 tokens. And then once the documents are split, I can use embedding model and create vector embeddings. So once vector embeddings are created, then I can create index in a Pinecone database, and index will help me to find the relevant information quickly, right? So I create index in the Pinecone database. I provide dimensions. My dimension is 1,536, but you can experiment. There are multiple ways to set it up. And then once it's done, I can start querying based on index. So now I'm going to ask the same question. Tell me about the Amazon Bedrock, and we'll see if it's going to now, using the information that I provided from PDF document, provide me an answer. So what is Amazon Bedrock? It's going to return 3 nearest answers to LLM. You can see it kind of like provides a lot of information, but LLM will parse this response to human-readable format and identify what's really relevant here. So now I create augmented prompt, and I say, well, take all of this that you just got from vector database, and based on this context, tell me what's Amazon Bedrock. So I created a new prompt, and now it tells me Amazon Bedrock is a fully managed service offered by AWS for foundation models. So now we got our right answer. And you can experiment with this. You can still continue and use without RAG your LLM and with RAG. So here I'm again asking, like, provide me key features of Bedrock. And without RAG, this is what it provided me. And then I said, well, the same, but with augmented prompt. And you can see it printed this kind of list. And if I go back to the document, it will exactly match what's in the document. So by using augmented generation, you will really improve your accuracy. And again, this was just a simple sample with 2 documents, but you can imagine if you have a knowledge base with hundreds of books, you can basically, like, you don't no longer need your faculty and librarians, right? You can build your own knowledge base and now prepare to whatever you want, right? As long as you have these documents. And it's really easy to build. Okay, I have only 3 minutes left, so have to be very quick. Overall, this whole emerging stack is changing rapidly. There are so many new players are coming. You also have to think about the policy, security, quality assurance, right? So the stack is evolving. I only showed you a couple examples with agents and retrieval augmented generation, but there are more things that are coming. At AWS, we provide all services for the whole 3-layer of stack. So I showed you Code Whisperer that was helping to create code for me. I used Amazon SageMaker Studio to create code. Amazon Bedrock, we talked about it a lot. I haven't showed it, but it's basically a serverless way to utilize foundations models. And all of this can be deployed on AI accelerators, and you will achieve better high performance for lower costs. I want to finish with takeaways. Models, foundation models are wonderful, but they're not magic. they have limitations, right? And we've seen those limitations with hallucinations, with a static training data set. You really have to work back from your use case. So we looked at structured data and how we can utilize structured data with agents. We looked at unstructured data, how we can use vector databases. But there are so many patterns and so many things evolving in this space. I actually recorded this demo like 2 weeks ago. I felt like if I was recording it 2 months ago, it would be a completely different demo. And if I come back in 2 months, it would be something different because just so many things are changing rapidly. And your data is your differentiator. You saw how using your data, you can get much better response, right? So you also have to be mindful when you're sharing this data that you're sharing with third-party providers. With tools like Amazon SageMaker, you deploy it on your account, so all the data and the logs stays within your account. With retrieval augmented generation, again, you're only supplementing, you're not providing this data to third-party users. So just be mindful, your data is really your differentiator, and where you put it can cause some issues if you don't do it responsibly. I'm a big believer that the best way to learn is by doing. You can sit and watch YouTube videos, 10 videos, and if you feel like you'll get 10% of what you can learn if you just simply go and do a lab. So here are 3 workshops that I recommend. One is Generative AI on Amazon SageMaker, where you can experiment with LangChain. Second workshop with Code Whisper. It was recently updated, and it's broken down by different programming languages. And the last one is Bedrock. It was just released, and it's really very cost-effective way to start utilizing foundation models. It will literally cost you like a few cents to start building generative AI applications. So I highly recommend to check this out. And I have 13 seconds left, so thank you so much for coming to today's session. I'm sorry for some technical issues, but I feel like the most important, we went through all the demos. And if you have any questions, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message, and I will be happy to take your questions after the session. Thank you.